The storm outside hammered against the wide windows of Brooks and Harbor, an upscale restaurant tucked along the waterfront of Charleston, South Carolina. Inside, crystal chandeliers glittered like suspended stars, catching the reflections of sharp suits and perfumed elegance. At a corner table, a man sat alone, Victor Hayes, a billionaire known for buying companies with the same ease most people bought groceries. Tonight, though, Victor wasn't the image of power. His hands fidgeted against the linen tablecloth, his gaze flickering repeatedly toward the exits. He didn't know why, but something inside him felt wrong, off balance, like life was a puzzle that suddenly lost its corner pieces. When a waitress approached, her steps soft against the polished floor, her eyes flicked over his shoulder as if checking for an invisible threat. She slid a folded note beneath his hand, her voice steady as she asked if he needed anything else. The note read only 6 words, but they carved a scar of ice across his nerves. "You're being watched. Be careful." Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel to support more emotional stories like this one. Victor's breath hitched. He looked up, but the waitress had already vanished into the maze of tables. He scanned the room. Business elites, couples celebrating milestones, photographers trying to snag a celebrity photo. Nothing unusual, but the note wouldn't leave his mind. He tucked it beneath his wallet and tried to shrug it off. Still, he knew better. He didn't build his empire by ignoring warnings. He stared down into his reflection in a glass of water and wondered when his life turned into something he had to fear. Once, he had been just a boy in Ohio, raised by a single mother who worked double shifts to keep the lights on. Once, life had felt simple, but money came, success came, greed followed, and somewhere along the journey, Victor forgot what peace felt like. The waitress returned later with his food, her brown hair pulled into a tight bun, wisps escaping like strands of worry. Her name tag read Marissa. She looked too young to carry the weight of fear he'd seen in her eyes. He noticed the tremor in her hand as she set his plate down, the way she leaned in just enough to whisper that whoever was watching him wasn't far. She couldn't explain more. Someone could notice. Victor felt something unfamiliar rise in his chest. Not anger, not ego, fear, the kind that reminded him he wasn't invincible. He pushed his plate away, appetite gone, and stood up, scanning the room once again. That was when he noticed him, a man in a dark leather jacket near the bar, his stare locked on Victor with a cold, clinical intensity, the kind of stare that suggested knowledge, not curiosity. Victor left quickly, his polished shoes echoing through the hallway, but something held him back. Marissa. She had put herself at risk to warn him. He turned sharply and found her near the back exit, wiping her palms against her apron. Outside, the rain roared like an army. He asked her why. She hesitated, then admitted she had overheard 2 men in dark suits mentioning his name, talking about deals gone wrong, about a plan that could ruin him professionally, and maybe personally. She didn't know details, but she couldn't stay quiet. She said she knew what it felt like to lose everything. She had once trusted the wrong people, and it cost her her dream of studying law. Now she worked nights to pay medical bills for her younger brother, hoping life still had second chances tucked somewhere in its pockets. Victor could have walked away. He had no reason to care. He spent years believing the world cared only about gain. But tonight, something shifted. Maybe it was the way Marissa spoke, her voice saturated with sincerity. Maybe it was the memory of his mother telling him that. Money should never be a shield that blocks out human decency. So he asked her to come with him. They left together, slipping into the storm, the rain soaking through their clothes as thunder cracked like the sky was splitting open. They moved quickly to his car, a black luxury sedan, and the engine roared awake. Marissa guided him through unfamiliar back streets she'd learned by heart while avoiding the dangerous corners of her own life. As they drove, Victor realized he was tired. Tired of the pressure that coiled around him like a vice. tired of boardrooms filled with wolves in silk ties, tired of being the kind of man who measured worth in profit. When they stopped outside a modest apartment complex where Marissa lived, he could see through the rain-streaked windshield, a little boy at the window, face pale with illness yet lit with hope as he waited. She explained that this was her brother Noah, born with a heart condition that insurance refused to cover. She worked tirelessly, but the bills always seemed to grow faster than her paychecks. She never asked for help. She said she couldn't afford hope. Hope was a currency she didn't have. Victor sat in silence. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man with the world in his hands. He felt human. He reached into his wallet and slid a business card across the console, telling Marissa to call him if anything felt unsafe. He wouldn't let the threats go unanswered. He promised her protection, not because she saved him, but because she reminded him of who he used to be. A person, a heart, a soul. Someone capable of more than boardroom battles and profit margins. The next day, Victor used his resources to locate and confront the men behind the threats. They were former partners, furious that he planned to expose their illegal operations. Victor didn't fight them with fists or fear. He used the law, exposing their crimes publicly. His reputation trembled but didn't fall. And when the dust settled, the world saw him not as a titan of greed, but as a man who chose justice over silence. Investors who once judged him respected him more. Employees who once feared him now believed in him. He didn't forget Marissa. He visited her apartment with a contract in hand, a full scholarship for law school, medical coverage for her brother, a job offer, not as a waitress, but as an intern at his company's new legal department dedicated to helping working-class families fight corporate injustice. When she tried to refuse, he said it wasn't charity, it was investment. In her. In the world he wanted to help repair. Marissa cried softly, her hands trembling not with fear now, but with disbelief that kindness still existed. If this story touched your heart even a little, please hit the like button, share this video to inspire someone else, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more emotional stories that celebrate kindness, courage, and second chances. Before we end, here's a special request. Comment below what lesson you learned from this story. I'd love to read your thoughts. In the end, Victor stood outside Marissa's apartment once more, watching Noah laugh from the doorway, his cheeks rosy, his future brighter. The rain had stopped, replaced by sunlight that shimmered like mercy across the street. Victor realized that being watched wasn't always about danger. Sometimes it was a reminder that no matter how high we climb, our lives are measured not by the power we wield, but by the lives we choose to lift with us. And as he stepped away, he felt something he hadn't in years, peace. The kind that wins not through victory, but through redemption.